Welcome back, everyone, to another episode on the Project Nodenium server. Today, we are starting off where we finished at the end of the last episode in the harbor that we are working on. And we are going to be doing some more work over here today, but there are a couple of other things that I want to do first. If we take a look at the project board, we have a lot of these farms already done. We've got the lava farm done, the basalt farm done, the mud farm done, the honey and bee farm. Well, that's done other than needing to get filled with bees. The tree farm is done, the mushroom farm is done, the smelter and bamboo farm. Okay, I don't have the bamboo farm yet. The quartz trading is done, the storage room is done, and we don't need a stone generator because I've been doing so much digging, I don't think I'll run out of stone for the rest of the season. So you might be thinking, we are going to do the bamboo farm today. But I have so much coal ore, I don't think I'll need to have a bamboo farm to be able to run the super smelt. But there are two farms that I do want to build today. With the city that we are going to be building in this area, we have a lot of blocks that are going to require green dye. And while I might be able to buy some green dye from the shopping district, that could get pretty expensive. So we are going to build a little cactus farm that I can use to get a bunch of green dye. And I think this room will be the perfect room to be able to add the cactus farm, because just like we have the sugarcane farm over here, we could put the cactus farm behind this wall and it would work really well. Back at the beginning of the season, I built this Bonemeal Farm here, which is based on moss blocks. And while this has been a good farm to get bone meal for the beginning, it doesn't produce enough bone meal to have bone blocks crafted up in the amount that we are going to be using them in our city. So I've been taking a look at different bone meal farm designs and came across one by Il Mango, which I think will be much better. So for example, this farm took a little over 2 hours to create this amount of bone meal. The farm that we are going to replace it with can produce this amount of bone meal in a little over 15 minutes. And that's a huge improvement. And then once we are finished building the two farms, we are finally going to do something about this mess right here. So let's get to work. And we are going to start out by building the cactus farm. And let's take a look at what we have behind this wall, which is a bunch of stone. And once again, I have to do a lot of digging. It's a good thing I find mining to be very relaxing, and getting more fuel for the super smelter is never a bad idea. Just like with the sugarcane farm, we're going to want to be able to see the cactus farm once it's finished, and for that we are going to need to add some lights. And I think what I want to do is use some redstone lamps, which will just require placing in the redstone blocks behind it, and then we can add the lamps in just like that. And with the redstone lamps, we are going to have plenty of light to check out the farm. I think, though, I'm going to run out before we finish because I only have 9 left. I think if we head back to the spawn area, there are some cleric villagers that we'll be able to trade with to get some glowstone, though, and make some more redstone lamp. Ah, here we go. Let's trade with them, and we're going to get a bunch of glowstone. And after a little bit of trading, I now have 88 glowstone. And after turning the glowstone into redstone lamps, we can finish the rest of the farm. We now have the area dug out for the cactus farm. And these little platforms over here are so that when we place the water bucket down, it's going to have the water come all the way over here, but stop just short of this hole. And this hole right here is where the cacti, when they drop down in the water, will end up. And we are going to have a water stream, which is going to be used to send the cacti up into this room. And I've now installed the water system that will take all of the items up. And we're going to test it out with these packed ice blocks. So if we drop them in here, we should see them come up and end up in this room. And I've got a barrel set up right over here. So hopefully we will end up with 11 in this barrel. So we got 4, 5, and there we go. All of them ended up here. Success on the first try. We now have everything set up so that we can get this farm going. The last thing that we need to do is place all of the cacti, and I've got all of the blocks in my inventory that are needed. So let's get this going. And we now have a fully functioning cactus farm, and already the cacti are starting to come in. We should have plenty to get all of the green dye that we're going to need for our building. And with that farm all finished up, it's time to move on to the next. This new Bonemeal farm is going to require a lot more redstone components than the old farm did. And I've been going through taking a look at what I have in my redstone box, which is not very much. And we're going to need to get a bunch more collected and crafted up. And for a lot of redstone components, we will need some cobblestone. And right now, I don't have much in my storage room here. So we need to head over to where we have all of the chests that we dug up when we were doing the quarry. And there is some cobblestone over there that we can get. I mean, just look at all of the cobblestone that we have over here. I think one chest full should be enough to get us started. We'll just fill up these shulker boxes here and we'll be good to go. So I think I have everything in these shulker boxes here to craft up the components that we need. So let's start crafting. We are going to need some pistons, and we are going to turn most of those pistons into sticky pistons. We are also going to need a lot of redstone torches, redstone comparators, redstone repeaters, but then I ran out of iron because of hoppers. So I've got to mine this iron up, put all of the iron in my smelter, and wait for it to get smelted up. If only the server had an iron shop that was fully stocked, and then use that iron to craft up the hoppers. We also need observers, activator rails, dispensers, and droppers. So I now have almost everything collected up, and in these 3 shulker boxes here, the last thing that we need to do is get a bunch of target blocks crafted up, because right now I don't have a lot of wheat and I only have 3 target blocks here, and we're going to need almost a full stack. The good news is I have a wheat farm over by my starter base, which is where we're going to be building this farm. So we're going to head over there and hopefully get enough wheat to get the target blocks crafted, which I now have all crafted up. And it definitely didn't require me standing here collecting a bunch of wheat from a semi-automated wheat farm. And now that we have everything collected up, it's time to start disassembling this farm so that we can build the new one. Well, I think we have everything all finished up. It's time to build the new Bonemeal Farm. As I mentioned earlier, this farm is designed by El Mango, and I've included a link to his video, so if this is one that you want to build, definitely check that out. But let's get started with building this. Well, the farm is now built, and all of this redstone, I probably only understand about 30% of it. But that's fine, because I don't need to understand all of it to make it work. I just need to load it up with some bone meal, and we should be all set to go. So let's fill this dispenser up, and this one, and this one. And then we should be all set to turn this on and start to see something happening, maybe. Nothing's happening. This is not good. So I figured out what it was. I need to put some bone meal into this hopper right here, and that triggers the farm to get it going. But now that it's going, we should be able to turn this off and then turn it back on. Let's just give it a little test here. Let everything stop going through, and then let's see what happens. Yep. We're all good to go now. I will need to let it run for just a little bit to allow all of the dispensers where the bone meal is to be able to fill up, and then once those are filled up, we should start to see some bone meal end up in this barrel down here. So the dispensers are now full, and this is the last one here. You can see all of the hoppers that lead into the dispensers are also filled up. And over here, while I was waiting, I upgraded the storage. So we now have 4 double chests that could be filled up, and you can already see we're starting to get a whole bunch of bone meal coming in, which is a good thing, because the last project that we are going to do today is going to require a lot of bone meal blocks. So I am going to let this farm run for a little bit and see how much I can collect, and once I get that all done, we'll meet back up. So I let the farm run for about 45 minutes, and look at how much bone meal we were able to get. And if we take all of this bone meal and convert it over to the bone block, we end up with 8 stacks of bone blocks. I don't think we're going to have to worry about collecting bone blocks anymore. I think it's time to start with the last project that we are going to do today. The first thing that we need to do is collect up these shulker boxes from what we were using last time, because there were a lot of resources that we were using last time that were left over, and we can use them again today. So the good news is that we have enough bone blocks, enough quartz bricks, quartz pillars, mushroom stems, and cobbled deep slate. We also have enough resources in storage for the materials that we are going to need. We just have to craft them up. So let's get some quartz smelted up, polish the basalt, andesite, and diorite. Then we need to get some green terracotta, green concrete, and green stained glass. And we now have everything gathered up and ready to go. The build that we are going to be building in here is going to be a massive retaining wall that is going to go probably up to about right here. We are going to have to do a little bit more digging, because this needs to be moved back 4 blocks, and that side needs to be moved back 1 block. And here I was hoping that this episode was going to have less digging involved. Well, I've got the beacon set up and the materials laid out. There's not much else that I can do other than get started, so let's get going. And we finished building this wall, and I am super happy with how it turned out. Now, originally, this wall was going to have a third level on it. Right where this tower is, it would start and it would go up about this high. It would come all the way over to where this tower is. But once I started building it, I realized that having that third level would make this wall too tall, and it would just be very overpowering for the area, and that's not what I was going for. So I kept it at just these 2 levels, and I think this is going to be much better and really work for what we have going on here. But that's where we are going to leave it for today's video. We have made a lot of progress, and we are well on our way to getting this city built. And I can't wait to get started with the rest of the city. But that's going to have to wait for another day. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And until next time, see you later.